Hello, this is Captain Brian coming to you from Hernando Beach, Florida. I have my friend Alan and his grandson Hunter, and we're going scalloping today. If you stay tuned to this video, I will show you some tips and tricks that I use to catch scallops that I've learned over my years here in Hernando Beach. The first tip I want to give you is to mark your spots on your GPS. You'll notice here that I marked some spots in 2021 and I checked them every year, and I came back to this same area in 2026 and we found the scallops here. This helps you to establish patterns and locations of the scallops and depths and other information. So if you're catching the scallops, if you're finding them, mark your spot on your plotter and put the date and month and year at least, and then you'll know when you caught them and you won't have to record it anywhere else. The next thing I'd like to discuss is gear. You want to go with some comfortable gear. If you're going to do this all the time, get you some fins that are comfortable scuba diving fins. Go to your local dive shop or talk to your local divers and ask them about fins. You always want to wear socks or boots too with your fins so they don't rub your feet, and it makes them more comfortable. There's a lot of cheap scuba gear out there, cheap snorkeling gear. You also want to use, but you want to use the good stuff. You also want to use a snorkel that has a device that keeps you from inhaling water, if at all possible. The other thing is wear bright clothes. You want to wear something neon or really, really bright so people can't see you when you're in the water, especially other boats. Make sure you got that dive flag out too. If you use a net, put a pool noodle on it. That way it floats like this. It helps people to see you while you're in the water. And if you drop the net, it floats and it makes it easy to retrieve. Nets are really good in deep water or for people who have trouble going down and diving after the scallops. I use one. We're scalloping here in about 8 feet of water and at high tide. And my wife likes to dive down after them, but after 20 or 30 scallops, it's tiring. If you take this net, you can go down and still dive a little bit, but maybe 2 or 3 feet. I use a 6-foot long handle on my net. That makes it where I barely have to stick my head under the water in 8 foot of water to retrieve scallops. You'll also notice that we are diving here in grass that is not really, really thick. That is another thing that I'd like to share with you. Is you don't always have to be in the really, really thick grass to get scallops. And sometimes they're even better in the almost sand where there's just very, very little grass, and it makes them easier to see and easier to catch. When the grass is high and the tide's moving, it kind of hides the scallops and makes it a little difficult to find them. So don't just focus on the heavy grass. You can find scallops in other waters. Another trick is when you find a scallop, look around. They usually stay in groups, so sometimes you may see one, but while you're down there on the bottom, look around, you might see 2 or 3 more. Here I'm getting, I think, 2 or 3 scallops in one little drop here, and I went down after one, and there were several more down there, so I retrieved them while I was down there. So look around and come up, get some air, and go back and look a little more. When you find one, there's usually more around in the same area. Another thing to do is always, always, always check around the anchor and the anchor chain. If you'll watch this clip, I'll probably catch 5 or 6 scallops around the anchor. When you anchor the boat, you usually anchor on the area where you're thinking there's scallops, or maybe you saw some and dropped it. And you also, the anchor, when it's setting, it moves a little bit and the chain moves around, and that stirs these scallops up, and then they kind of settle back down on top of the grass, and it really is a good place to look. I almost always find scallops around the anchor or the anchor chain. Your boat also will kind of drift back and forth. The anchor may stay in one place, but that chain will stir up the scallops as your boat drifts back and forth while it's anchored. So always check your anchor chain. Even if you checked it when you first got in, come back a little bit later, because the anchor moves a little while you're diving, and it's really productive for me to check the anchor for scallops. So always make sure somebody does that. Another tip is always check under the boat. Even after you're finished scalloping, go back and look around the anchor and the boat. Um, Seems like the scallops will hide under the boat, or nobody really wants to go under the boat, and then the boat moves while everybody's away from it and gets in a little bit slightly different position. So what was under the boat when you started your dive may not be under the boat when you finish your dive. So when you're done, go back and look like I did here, and you might find a scallop or two just hanging out under the dive ladder or right around the boat. It's worth another look. I think it's worth saying again, you don't have to be in heavy grass to catch scallops. You can see here how thin this grass is, and there's still scallops around. They don't necessarily hang out in the thick grass. Another common misconception is that you have to be in the middle where there's a lot of boats. A lot of times you can catch a lot of scallops and be hundreds, if not quarters or half a mile or a mile or more from all the boats. So just because you're not where there's a lot of boats doesn't mean there's not scallops. People tend to follow the leader and go where there's a lot of people. That's not always where the scallops are. Another hint is to make sure you carry a bag with you to put your scallops in. As you can see here, I didn't carry a bag, and my wife had one. She used a lobster bag, and comes in very handy, easy to open. But you can go to the dollar store and get all kinds of little mesh bags and stuff that work just as good. So make sure you take your bags with you so you can carry them and put those scallops in them when you catch them. So let's talk about safety and efficient scalloping. There's usually almost always a current, and you want to swim into that current, not with it. So you always want to be, the boat generally is facing towards the current, so you want to swim towards the front of the boat. Swim out there about 300 feet is as far as you're supposed to be from the dive flag, so about 300 feet or less, and then turn around and drift back to your back even with the boat. Then kick over a few feet left or right, maybe 10, 15, 20 feet, and do the same thing. Try to swim a straight line and go back up another 200 or 300 feet. This way you're methodically covering area. You're always up current from the boat, so if you get a cramp or have an issue and you need to get back to the boat, you're going with the current back to the boat and not trying to swim against it. The last thing you want to do is be behind the boat, down current, and trying to kick real hard into the current to get back to the boat. And if there's nobody on the boat to help, that makes it even worse. So be safe. My last tip is to take the kids and the family with you. Hunter here is 10 years old. This is his first scalloping trip, and he just fit in like a pro. Look at him go down after these scallops like he's been doing this for years. It's fun for the family. Keep an eye on everybody. Make sure your dive flag's out, and just be safe and enjoy the water out there. Scalloping's a great way to spend time with your friends and family on the water, but always be cautious. Always look out for the lightning and thunder this time of year that can blow up out of nowhere. So it's best to leave somebody on the boat, but everybody likes to get in the water and have fun. Just be careful, and if you have any questions or leave a comment here, and I'll try to answer, and maybe do another video later about this if anyone finds this interesting. This is Captain Brian here out of Hernando Beach, and hope y'all have a great time scalloping.